Hi everyone, it's Genshin Cosplay and welcome to my channel. For those who don't know me, I'm a cosplayer and I've been doing this for the past 10 years. And here I'm going to show you how I made this beautiful costume, which is Kirara from Genshin Impact. But the skin version with the cowboy hat. This is really important and very cool. I'm going to show you everything that I make for this costume step by step, how I think and how I made them to make it look good and presentable, almost like a competition piece. Maybe that would be good, but we don't know. So I hope you enjoyed it and let's get crafty. So first things first, let's start with the top. Then you need to make a duct tape pattern. It doesn't matter if it's on your body or a mannequin that you adjust at your size, but you need to cover it in tape and then trace everything that you see on your reference picture. Now that you have your pattern, you need to cut it in shape and colors depending on what your reference picture is, because that will be very handy for the next steps, which is pattern. As you can see here, I'm not cutting a shape that is on my pattern. It's because I'm doing the shirt thingy that she has, and because I wanted to give the illusion that it's a real shirt, it needs to be layered under everything that was going to be on top of it. So I'll make it bigger and kind of like a shirt, so it looks pretty and realistic. Now that I do have the shape, I'm making a dot because it's where your breast is going, so the shape is not flat, and I do need to make it flat so when it's cut down to fabric I can make it to shape. And I'm tracing it everything on paper, and I'm making it a little longer, so like I said, to give the illusion that's a real shirt. And I'm tracing everything that I marked on, the dot, the seam allowance, and I do have my first pattern. Now it's time to over explain something. So what you're going to see is how I do make my gathers. Those gathers is what I learned in school because I did the design fashion school, and this is pretty much the way that I really do like to make gathers, because I really do think they look really cute. So what you're going to do is you need to measure the length that you want the gathers to go, and with that length you're gonna trace kind of like a spiral shape, where you gotta make a lot of space between the line of your spiral like I do on screen, because with that you're gonna add your height and the seam allowance of that set gather. You can make it a little longer like I'm doing it here. I'm making it 1.5 longer than what my reference is, because I want to gather those gathers, so it makes a lot of gathers and it looks cute. That's why I'm doing it. Next thing is I am getting my white fabric and I'm placing the pattern that I previously made onto it, and I make sure that I do follow the grain. It's very important. That makes your garments look real pretty, on another level of craftsmanship, of sewing, I don't know. Pin it and I just cut it then. I do have a lot of different pieces because I want to make it real thick. You cannot see anything through it. So I got 3 pieces left and right for the front. I got multiple pieces for the gathers because I want them real thick, real pretty, and have a lot of volumes. And I do have the middle part to cover everything that I'm about to do. Now that everything is cut out, I can sew it all together. So I'm sewing the middle part from the front parts, from the front of the garments, the dots as well for the boobies, important, and I sew the gathers together, and I have a lot of pieces sewn and ironed. Important, the iron, don't underestimate him. Then I do a long straight stitch down the seam allowance of my gather. It's to make the gathers, obviously, and I do use the bobbin thread. Most important thing is I use a bobbin thread, I gather the gathers, and I pin the gathers to my front piece. That's a lot of gathers, sorry, but I do not know any words for gathers. I pin it down the marks that I did make, and I am sewing it with a straight stitch down the seam allowance as well, and I do the exact same thing on the other side. I finished my top stitches and I got a 1 centimeter gap between them and it looks perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the 2 remaining interface and I'm going to attach them to the bodice and attach the booby cups, and that will be good. For the cups, you gotta just sew a straight stitch down the middle of your dot that you just did previously, and that's pretty much it. The next step is to put this layer in between your interface and the main layer and sew it all together, and it looks perfect. And iron it. Of course, you need to iron your pieces to look great. After a lot of struggle of turning this inside out, you just have to iron it, like I said before, and you will have your bodice, the main white part of your costume, and it looks so good. I love how the gathers turned out. I'm really happy. You cannot see the cups and it's so perfect. Next thing is the harness. So what I'm going to do is stack back the pattern that I previously made, tape it and make dots where I need the shape to go because it's a round shape for the breast. And I'm going to cut everything out, but because we're making a cosplay, everything doesn't turn out the way we usually want.
Bon, j'ai bien l'impression que la couleur que je vois n'est pas la bonne. Ok. En fait, c'est marron. C'est marron noir, parce que c'est en dégradé. Mais moi, je veux pas faire le dégradé. Je veux pas. Donc on va le faire qu'en noir.
After this mishap, I have this pattern. So I make dots for the shape of the collar. For my breast, everything goes in order. So I know where everything goes and I can not at all. I'm just going to trace it on paper, again, add some allowances, and everything will be good. Good to be cut in fabric next. So now I got all my different pieces that I just cut out, and I'm gonna get my collar. And I cut it twice so I can put interface in between, and I'm going to sew them all around it and attach it to the main bodice. And I'm gonna get my booby cups and do the same thing and I'll attach them right where I'll show you. So now I've got my pieces with the fusible interfacing onto my collar, but I'm not going to sew them directly because we gotta do something way more important, and that includes mesh foam. Mesh foam is this really thick material that you can use to make cups for some garments, some dresses for example. So what I do is I trace my pattern onto my mesh foam, and I'm adding a little wing on the side. This is for the cups. Remember I cut 4 pieces of this in the black fabric, and because I want it to be pointy, I'm gonna add this as a padding, and I'm going to cut everything out and then sew it all together and make sure it looks perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm making dents because I want to make sure that everything line up. So next I'm using this stretchy brown fabric that I did use for my Hutao cosplay. I'm going to cut this the same piece onto this fabric and onto the lining as well. I am sewing the little wings onto the side of what I just did, onto the lining and the main fabric. And then I'm just putting in orders all my layers. So I got the mesh foam first, and then I got my lining, and then my main fabric. My main fabric is facing the lining, and then you get the foam under. So when you turn everything inside out, the mesh foam is getting in between the 2 layers. So I'm just going to sew everything around on, and I'm just leaving 2 openings onto the sides of the cups so I can turn it inside out. It will look better. Because the mushroom is quite thick, I need to cut the corners so it looks sharp when I turn it inside out. I don't know how to say this, but you get the point. And I'm going to cut all the remaining excess of the mushroom on the seam allowance, because when I turn it inside out, it can make a little bump because it's not just 0.5 centimeters showing up, it's like a full centimeter, so it makes little bumps, and it's not good. It doesn't show up really good. You can sew really close to the stretch stitch because it's not gonna fray or anything. It's really dense and really thick, so it doesn't matter. I just cut it and turn it everything inside out, and I got my piece, and it looks really good, and I'm so happy with it. Now that everything is facing the right way, I ironed it, and now it's time for the big part, and it's to attach the harness part of the costume onto the little plate that I just did. So I'm going to pin the color that I sew and put fusible interfacing. I'm going to sew this alongside all the way to the cups. Everything's gonna be in one little stitch. Little is not the word, but it's gonna be in one stitch, one straight stitch down everything, so it looks like it's one piece. I did the exact same thing on the other side. I sewed it really close to the edge, and I turned it everything inside out as well. I ironed it, of course, and now we've got this, which is really good, and it looks perfect. I gotta do the same thing on the other side, and voila! And now I got everything nice and neat, and what I gotta do is just do a straight stitch on the side so we can mimic what she has going on, and that's pretty much it. You got the harness part with the collar ready and done. If you've enjoyed the first part of making this costume, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to my channel. There's gonna be more videos like this coming up because I got a bunch of projects coming up, a lot of cosplay. So if you want to stay tuned, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.